Happy Tuesday. Who's here? Whoa, craziness going on. Aw, it always throws me off. Oh, there we go. Hi, who's here? Who's here? Welcome, welcome. This is Tuesday Thoughts. I'm Lisa, and I'm going to be talking about the power of repetition. The what? The power of repetition. The what? The power of repetition. Rewind. Yep, repetition, repetition, repetition. If you're here joining me, drop me an icon, a little Tuesday, what's up? What's your icon du jour? How you feeling? I like speaking in icons. What's your icon of the day? Hey, everybody. I'm just going to get sorted. Hey, Gisela. Thank you for being here. Every time I feel supported. I'm not talking to nobody. Hey, Instagram people. I see a few people here. I'd love to know how are you today? Drop me an icon. How you're doing? So today we're going to be talking, me and me. I'm going to be talking about the power of repetition. And why did I pick this topic today? You know, it was going to be the power of routine. But then I thought, repetition there's that quote. You'll see it later this week. I'm going to be posting it, but we are what we repeatedly do. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my relationship with repetition, how it actually helped me go from creating basically the wrong thing or the thing that I wasn't fully aligned with, because there really is no right and wrong, but it's just the power of it. It's like watching how it actually was creating something in my life. We are constantly repeating things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, my own experience with rewiring my body through repetition, rewiring my brain so that I could set it up for success. I want to talk a little bit about the science behind repetition, why it's so powerful, why it works, really. I mean, the science behind it. And yeah, I mean, if you add all those up, my desire is to kind of share with you how you too can be the master manifestor that you are already innately inside there. So let's see. Let's start with my own rewiring of my body and my brain. I'm going to turn the music off. I was feeling it, but it ends up distracting that part of my brain because rewiring my body, let's start there. Okay, so our breath is actually a very constant, repetitive thing. And when I first tried breathwork, it allowed me to get really in touch with the connected breath, which is a breath that comes in and out. It's very repetitive and it's super healing, very meditative, and you end up in a very full body breath. Your whole system is breathing in the fullness of life and breathing out, just breathing out. And there was so much fun I was having when I was first learning about breath work and experimenting with it, the increasing of the inhale and the exhale. But the thing we can always count on with the breath is the repetition of it. The inhale will always follow the exhale. So there's a rewiring that happens with this increased amount of oxygen that comes into your system. And just like, I think my main point I want to talk about here today is really about thoughts. I mean, the rewiring of the body merged with what you're pumping your brain with is actually a powerful formula for change. And you might have heard me say or around town the idea of where you fire, you wire. So if we are what we repeatedly do, and where we fire, we wire is relating to every thought that you have, that same thought that you're having. For me, for years, it was, I'm fat, or I'll never this, or there was negative ones that I wanted to shift. And let me just always side note that there are tons of repeating thoughts that you're having that are brilliant. They're amazing. We don't want to shift those. Those programs are running perfectly. And sometimes we come to a place, as I did in my life, where I realized that I had a desire for something I wanted in my life, but I was not able to get there. And when I traced it back, it ended up coming back to my thoughts. The thing that I was literally repeating to myself over and over and over again, sometimes subconsciously and sometimes very consciously. Very consciously, because in some ways I was addicted to that thought, whether it was the only one I knew, whether it was felt good, because what I also say is we find the evidence to support our case. So if my case was no one will ever love me unless I lose weight, I will go and find that thought that supports that person that supports that. And then the repetition starts showing up in the physical world too. And that's the thing about manifesting, is that realize, visualize, actualize, and it metamorphizes in your life. So if you're realizing something and then you start thinking about it over and over and over again, it's so important. What is that realization? What is that repetitive thought? And is it going to link to the thing that you want to have more of in your life? Is it going to be supportive? And one of the best ways to have a reframe here is notice what the repeating thought is. And if it falls on the lower frequency, which we'll call here the more negative thing, that you always have a moment to flip it over, because it's always traveling with its counterpart. And that's the power of a reframe. And that's the power also with repetition, because at any given second, you can just flip it to actually support what you do want. So to see what it is, you must know what it isn't. And if you're coming to me in any of my coaching work that I do with people, and you are repeating a negative thought, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, well, what's the opposite of that thought? And like yesterday, I was having a call with someone and we were talking about guilt. This person was feeling a lot of guilt in their life. And I said, okay, well, if you're not in guilt, what's the opposite? Because there was a lot of repetition of, I feel guilty when I do that. I feel guilty when I do that. I feel guilty. And so just by identifying what's the opposite of it, then you begin to then use that as a repetition. I am worthy. I matter. Or whatever your other side was or is. So how did I use repetition? Okay, so there's a lot of thoughts out there about affirmations and do they work? Are they like all of that? And I will say that affirmation alone will not magically create any, like, your perfect dream home. However, if you know me, I am all about practical manifesting. So I am repeating things that I want to people constantly. So not only do I bring it into my morning routine, which is basically what I was going to share with you as part of the repetition for me, was waking up every day. First, you can do a brain drain if that fits your lifestyle. That was something I was committed to for a very long time. And it was about dumping out some of the repetition that isn't working, like you're sleeping at night and you're repeating possibly panic. Like I would wake up in panic about finances, about being lonely, about what do I want to do in my life. And if I'm repeating, what do I want to do? How am I going to make the money? And it's like this, I mean, that's literally what was then showing up. So I would drain that out, and then I would begin to pump my mind with the repetitive thoughts of, and I'm gonna share this as one of my biggest techniques. It says, I'm so happy and grateful now that I had a stack of these cards that I woke up every morning after I sat in meditation, after I brain drained, I sat in meditation, I opened my cards up, and each one was a different thing I wanted to manifest in my life. One was, let's say, the relationship, like a love relationship. Another was a new apartment scenario that I wanted. Another was the financial income I wanted in my business. I'm so happy and grateful now that I make $20,000 or more a month. offering mind mastery coaching and breath work to clients that are just raving about me, love the work that I do, just are so excited every time we work together. I feel fulfilled and successful in my service. Thank you. And there would be a few of these. I'd read them literally out loud like that, repeating them every day, every day, every day. And the thing that happens with this, it happened yesterday and the day before with Gisela and I were talking about the quantum field. If you talk about something long enough like this in your own mind and in the morning, all of a sudden, something in your life will show up. Like yesterday, I had a scenario where something showed up. And because I was already attuning my mind every day to something of, it had to do with this apartment. When it showed up, I knew it was action time. And I literally said to myself, the universe has my back, but you just have to make the first move and then trust that the ripple out effect will happen. But if I hadn't been attuning my brain and I'd been more in the like, why do I feel stuck? Or I don't want to live here anymore, or whatever blah thought those path would lead me down, it was a constant opening that I allow myself to be in. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have my beach house and I have my New York City apartment all sorted out. And then boom, something yesterday happened where I met my neighbor and possible negotiations around apartments and stuff like that. Anyway, what? It was like, I literally felt like I was in the Matrix. Because, so back to the where you fire, you wire. You are literally saying, I'm so happy and grateful now that this thing's already happened. Your brain doesn't know the difference. And you're already like, it's already happened. I'm so happy that it already happened. And then it's almost like, and we're talking about universal time lag next week, but it's almost like you already put the dot into the future of what it is, and you're like just moving towards it. So where you fire, you wire is that the neural pathways, that's kind of like, think of it like electricity, or I often use the needle on the record analogy. So an old groove, some thought that you're having and repeating all the time is going to be a really well-worn groove on the record, because that's what happens. It's going around and around and around, and it's just creating its deep, deep crevice. But if you want a new thought, you have to put the needle on the record at a place that doesn't have a groove. And it's going to naturally fall back into the old groove. That's okay. That's expected. And this is really the science of change, is understanding that that's going to happen and that you didn't fail. Don't make it mean anything about you, but understand it's actually the process to change, and that your job or the work is to pull it out of the old groove and stick it back into the new groove until it can go around more and more. And the way that works in your brain is, if you're saying an old thought over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, this connection gets very, 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 very strong. And the reason why, when I work with you and on making changes in your life, what I do is I help you focus on where you're going. Yes, we honor the past, and I do a lot of beautiful work around forgiveness and transformation and identities around where you've come from. And we do so much honoring, of course. But the thing is, if you focus on where you're going, those thoughts around keeping you stuck in the past are going to atrophy. It's like a muscle. If you don't use it, it's just going to get weaker. So I want to help you strengthen where you're going. Being a manifestor is about using your mind. At least for me, there's many ways of being a manifestor, but mind mastery and self mastery in the realm of manifestation in my world is use your mind to create where you're going, and then use your thoughts at every given moment that you possibly can, in every practical scenario that you can, to align it to that. So, if you come to Manifest and Mingle, we do an amazing, practical, super cool, powerful, super powerful manifesting hack that you integrate into your everyday. It's like the most commonly asked question that we get, and how to manifest in those moments. I mean, you have an opportunity. Sometimes I play a game where I'm walking around the city and I just pump my brain with like, I am amazing, I am amazing, I am amazing, I am amazing. I mean, if I don't want to think about something, or I catch myself thinking about something that doesn't feel productive, that's the other thing. I ask myself, is this a productive thought, Lisa? Seriously, it's a great question. Gisela, that might be the special sauce. Is that a productive thought, Lisa? You know, like, is this going to lead me down a deep rabbit hole? Because you know what I noticed? I'm catching myself so much quicker around, do I want to go, like, is that going to lead me down a spiral of a rabbit hole that's really just going to spin me out and make me feel uncomfortable and make me doubt my stuff? And doubting is the place where, talk about repetition. If you're in this like limbo doubt thing, this like, repetition of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. To me, when I had that in my life, it caused me the most suffering. It was super, super uncomfortable. It's a little bit on the digression on like the type of repetition I'm talking about here. But the point is, if you stay in I don't know, which is what this is, first of all, you just get a headache. Second of all, you end up going nowhere, but you feel like you're going somewhere because you're doing all this movement. And so basically, here at the end of this chat today, my thoughts on repetition, I want to impart that using repetition to further your goal, your purpose, to move something forward, and using the repetition to almost like keep revving the engine in the forward way, in the way that you want to go. So we're going to pick a tarot card today. And yes, thank you for posting the events, Gisela. I'll be doing that over here on all the other stuff. Let's see, repetition. Morning routine. I mean, that was like the biggest thing that I had in my life that I repeated that was like very productive and helpful, was my morning routine. And I think having the repetition of anything, I mean, consistency, which is kind of like a brother or sister to repetition, is really, I think, one of the keys to self-mastery, and is one of the keys to becoming a master manifestor. So if we are what we repeatedly do, if where you fire, you wire, and think about what you think about. That's kind of like a little equation to how to use repetition in your life to, create what you want. I'm trying to think about what else did I do in a repetitive way. I mean, if you also think about repetition as our patterns that are like repeating programs, like old programs that we are literally just repeating in our life, you want to get curious and ask yourself, are these patterns serving me? Because whether you realize it or like it, you are running a program. And the work that I love to do and start with people is asking, is that definition or is that program working for you? Because it's deep. These grooves are deep, and we need to get curious and ask ourselves, is this working? I think that's, another great question. Like, how's this working for me? Just because you've been doing it for decades, I mean, permission to change, everyone. Permission to say, hey, that's not working anymore. And who cares what anyone thinks? And I don't know if it's because I'm in my 40s right now, but the zero fucks has gone to a whole new level. I don't know. It is that wisdom of age. And if we could have the zero fucks in the 20s, I mean, I don't even know. I guess that's not a part of the 20s. The wisdom of the 20s isn't about zero fucks. But right now, I have to say, like, not caring about what other people think. And this is another story I've told all the time around, it's funny because like this story is about repetition, but it's also about permission to change. And I think I'm going to leave with that before we pick the cards, is as powerful as repetition is, which this is going to sound like a contrary thought I'm going to say right now, repetition is definitely the key to changing many things. It is definitely the key to self-mastery for sure. And I've seen this so many times when in myself and in others. Then we get attached to that thing, that repetitive thought, that repetitive like routine. Like I found myself almost addicted to my morning routine to the point where I was like, is this even working anymore? And that's what I want to say, is that you have to know and question everything, even if like it might be working for a while. And then you have to give yourself permission to make the shift because it worked. And that's the beauty of it. So you have to upgrade even your routine or your repetition than the thing that you're doing. And that's where it gets tricky. And this was super clear when I was living in India. And I know I'm at 21 minutes, but I guess I was chatty Lisa today. But last thought is that when I was in India, living in the ashram, I noticed that people were living in there for like a really long period of time. And they became, it looked like, oh, wow, they're working on themselves. Oh, wow. But then it was like, oh, they're working on themselves because they couldn't stop. They couldn't stop seeing that there was more to achieve and something other thing to fix. And there's a moment where you also need to just say, hold up, like, let's change it up. Which is why, by the way, I'm not doing stop, drop, and breathe this week. I'm making some changes. I need to shake the energy up. I always switch with the seasons. I like the seasons to help guide. Seasons are the greatest thing for telling you it's time to make a shift in energy. So we're going to pick a card. What is the wisdom that we need to know around repetition in our lives? Either adding it in more. What do we need to add? I don't know. We'll see what comes out. Repetition, 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 repetition. Thank you for being here, everybody. If you want to share anything about repetition, go ahead. I'm going to pick the number 22 because it's two twos. 2, 2, 2, 2. Which is a repeating 2. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Projections. Oof. Interesting. Yeah, this card is always interesting to get. I think this card, feels... Well, I mean, that's the other thing, I guess, about repetition and just about making changes. Be careful you're not just picking up a pattern of somebody else around you. I did that for years because of my own I don't know indecision pattern. So I guess what I'm also linking here is patterns, consistency, repetition, and routine. All of these are feeling like they're connected. And then the projection card in the realm of this topic, it's like you have to be careful that you're coming from your own needs, your own desires of change, because we can easily project and we can easily absorb from other people around us, which is also a manifesting technique. Like, make sure the people around you are supporting what you're creating. Make sure the people around you are not projecting, you need to this, you should do that. And that if that is what they're doing, that it's something that you've either aligned with or you want that type of support in your life. So yeah, projections. Let's see here. I'm gonna usually, it's a blue, which means it's an emotion card. So that can get we can get emotional around, it's water. So it's about flowing and emoting, which, yeah, emotions run deep when it comes to, is this mine? Is this yours? Projections, and making sure that there's what you see. Yeah, this one ends with, It says, does what you see in others really belong to you? Is your vision clear or clouded by what others want you to see? So, you know, before you can even get to the repetition of something, you really need to get clear on what is it that you want. Not what does someone else want for you. Not the projection of the world into what you want, but what do you want? And that's what my 2020 theme was, is what does Lisa want? First, you start there. And then once you figure it out, I want a beach house, then you make sure that then, boom, I want a beach house, but then you don't want to stay in the wanting of something. You want to also get into the having of it. So how do you do that? I am so happy and grateful that I have a beach house in Mexico, and I'm 5 minutes away from the beach, and I eat tacos every day, and I'm just so expansive, and I love my life. Then from there, you repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it, and then you move your feet. You call, you join. I just joined Mexico boards on Facebook. You talk to friends that have been to Facebook, Mexico, and then all of a sudden, boom, you get offered a 2-bedroom place in Mexico to stay for free. And you're just like, oh, did that really come out of nowhere? Or actually, did I just create that in my quantum field? So there we go, projections. Know what you want. All right. Thanks for staying in so long, 26 minutes. Have a great week, making changes, so stay tuned. And if you want me to talk on any themes, let me know. Happy manifesting, one love, stay true to you, and I'll see you on somewhere digitally. Bye.